Well, first of all, let me just say that it's great to be back here in St. Joe at Missouri Western, talking to both players and coaches out on the field. One after another commented how this really feels like training camp, and this is where we need to be to get the 2021 season kicked off. We obviously accomplished some things last year, but we came up a little bit short at the end. That's all in the past now, and we're looking forward to 2021. We've got a great group of both veteran and rookie players who are excited to take on the challenge of trying to get back to the Super Bowl. And with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Hey, Clark, how you doing?
Good, thanks.
Good. Hey, I wanted to ask you about Pat. The Super Bowl last year was sort of the biggest disappointment of his pro career, at least. I was wondering, did you see anything from him that would indicate one way or the other how he might respond to that this year?
Yeah, knowing Pat like I do, I think he's going to take the disappointment of the Super Bowl and raise his game to another level. He obviously had the rehab that he was working through in the off season, but he was there for every OTA. Really was 100% available during the OTAs, and I know he was eager to get here and get camp going because he's looking forward to getting back on the field. Just that type of mentality, the type of competitor he is, I think he'll use the experience and be better for it.
Clark, good afternoon. How are you doing today?
I'm great.
You were standing there and you heard Andy Reid mention Tyrann Mathieu and his contract situation, saying that I just want to play football. But for you as an owner, what does that mean to you when you hear Mathieu state that and knowing that the contract isn't at the foremost of his mind?
Well, Tyrann's the ultimate professional and really has been his entire career in the league and definitely during his couple of years with us. I know he's going to be at his very best this year. I've heard Tyrann say that he would like to extend his career in Kansas City, and we feel the same way about that. Hopefully that'll work out. The timing's obviously uncertain.
I know the legal process is ongoing with the Britt Reid situation, but so there's probably not a lot you can say on that. But when it comes to hiring coaches, how involved are you in that, the staff that's around, maybe even scouts and those kinds of things? How many conversations do you have with Brett and Andy specifically about those individuals and maybe vetting the backgrounds?
Yeah. Well, philosophically, I let the leaders within our organization hire their staffs, whether that's Mark Donovan on the business side, Brett with the scouting staff, or Andy with his coaching staff. That's something that's really up to them. I'm obviously aware of who they're hiring, but I let them make the decisions.
Andy said he had a chance to talk to Frank about his incident in LA. Have you had a chance to talk to Frank, and how is the team sort of addressing the situation before his court date?
Yeah, I've not had a chance to speak to Frank about it. There's obviously a legal process there. At some point, the NFL may get involved as well. We'll cooperate with the league on whatever they need.
Harold, Clark, when it comes to mental health, it's been obviously a big topic recently, especially with Simone Biles. What are you guys doing to try to help make sure that as these athletes are getting younger and younger, they may not know what to do with social media and everything, to make sure they stay on focus and make sure that you guys are doing the best you can to keep them in a good mental space?
Yeah, that's been a real focus of the league over the last 5 to 10 years. And in fact, it led to a requirement that teams have the appropriate resources, both internally and externally. Heard Coach Reid mention Dr. T, who we brought on a couple of years ago. He's a great internal resource for our players. And it is something I think we have to be more cognizant of as an organization than maybe 10 or 20 years ago.
Look, you guys are back in St. Joe this year, obviously, after not having an opportunity to be here. What do you think the team gains energy-wise from getting away from Kansas City, being up here for the month?
Yeah, I've heard a lot of the guys, talk about what they believe they gain by being here as a team, and it's basically the bonding experience that you have at training camp. You can obviously get the work in just as easily in Kansas City as you can here, but you can't replace spending 3 weeks in a dormitory, eating all your meals together. I think that's really valuable for bringing a team together. And we have a number of new players this year, particularly on the offensive line, and so I think the chance to be here at camp is really going to benefit that unit and the entire team.
Mr. Hunt, when you look into your crystal ball, can you predict what it's going to be like? Are we going to be able to pack the stadium in Kansas City? I know it might be different in other areas.
Yeah, well, something I've learned over the last 18 months is it's very dangerous to try to look into the crystal ball because things change very fast, and we're seeing that right now. We're definitely planning on having 100% capacity at GEH Field this fall, but it is a dynamic process, and we'll work with the health director in Kansas City like we did last year.
Clark, Ron Rivera expressed disappointment in the number of vaccinated players he had, and you guys have already cleared the threshold and seem to be one of the more, forward on that process. I know you just said when I asked the other question about letting your leaders do that role, but you're their leader, right? What was your message to Andy and Brett and Mark Donovan about how you wanted to approach the vaccination side of things and having the success you seemingly had?
Yeah. First I want to say, at the end of the day, it's an individual's decision as to whether they want to be vaccinated. Obviously, the NFL, working in conjunction with the Players Association, has come up with protocols, and they're different for vaccinated and unvaccinated players. And there's no doubt that it will help the teams that have higher vaccination rates. I think your chances of maybe losing key players or losing position groups throughout the season will be diminished. At the end of the day, it was really a function of our team leaders, not so much the coaching staff or Brett Veach, but Patrick Mahomes and the other leaders on the team encouraging their teammates to get vaccinated. I think that's why we have such a high vaccination rate.
Clark, you mentioned the excitement about being back up here in St. Joe, and for fans that come up here, it's not necessarily the same. There's also the new berm, the hill over there where they can watch practice at a better vantage point. How exciting is it not just to have the fans back, but to provide a more enhanced experience in that way?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I ought to say we really appreciate the enhancements that Missouri Western has made over the last couple of years in anticipation of us coming back for training camp, and this berm is one of those. And I know the players and coaches appreciate the work that was done in the dormitories as well. And it's so great to be able to have our fans back at training camp. I can think back to my experience as a kid coming to training camp with my dad, just how special that is, and so it was great to see somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 of our season ticket holders here today enjoying training camp. And as I said earlier about the games this fall, hopefully we're going to be able to be at 100% when we get back to GEH Field.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, guys.